main reasons for having the call today. One was to present the nominations from the nominating committee for the upcoming cycle. We have the symposium, our annual meeting in March, and several of us, the term is coming to an end, and we need to find new people. So Sasi kindly and John and Mori, they got together and they went through the process. They came up with a strong list of candidates that was published. It was emailed to all members. Right now, we are open to nominations from other people, apart from what the nominating committee came up with. You know the process for that. There needs to be a secondment, and both the nominee and the seconder need to be active members of SPE and DSATS in good standing. And I'll have in a second the list here of the nominations. Other than that, the second reason was to talk a little bit about the DWIS work that is going on. There is a series of demos that are coming up, I'm very excited about, and there is a workshop also the day after the drilling conference in Stavanger. So that's going to be a busy week. That Monday, the 3rd, March 3rd, is our symposium. 4 to 6 is the actual conference. And then the 7th, there's going to be a workshop on the DWIS, taking the opportunity that many people will be at the same place. And that workshop really is to see where we are, where we're going, how we're going to have a commercial trial of this, what are the paths to commercialization. It's really putting together all the pieces, or at least trying to decide the next few steps. This is going to be an ongoing process for a while, hopefully. I really look forward to that. So I'll be there also, Calvin. You were asking earlier. Several of us will be there. So that's and then the regular update, about the membership, the drillbotics, etc. And Eric later is going to give us an update of where he stands and what the work is and what are the goals for that workshop, etc. So that's the agenda. So in terms of membership, the usual update. This is the end of the year numbers at the end of December. You can see here we are 2,411 members, compared to 2,333 last year. So that's about a 3% increase, which is in line with the rest of SP. A couple of other statistics that are important, I think. The student members went up 6% year over year. You can see here the numbers from 585 to 620. And this is also consistent with the rest of SPE. The student membership has recovered more so than the professional membership after COVID. Look at the curves here, we're at the highest level, student member-wise, even before COVID, all-time high, where for professional members, we're at about 2020 levels, down from the max that we had. And that's a trend that is across all technical sections. I was discussing with Robin the other day, and for some reason, all this, let's say, interest or participation that we see in student members doesn't necessarily convert to professional members, and we're looking to see why is that. Is it because we don't give enough incentives? We don't. The students end up in other industries. What is it? Why these members don't become professional members? And that's an open question, really. We keep looking at that. This graph here shows the conversion. How many student members convert to professional members? So at the end of the year, we had 88 converted. So out of this 620, roughly speaking, 88 converted, which is 1 out of 7. This is not too bad, in my opinion, because thinking that 700 students cover 4 years of bachelor's undergraduate education and probably some graduate students in there, how many of those really join the workforce. Is approximately 1 out of 6. You know, if you are covering 6 or 7 years of being in school, how many of those get out every year? So it's about 1/6 to 1/7. You know, so the 88 is not a bad number, even though there may still be an issue of with students leaking, let's say, to other industries. So that's something that we need to keep looking at and see how we can bring in new talent. Of course, that's one of the big challenges that we face as industry and as SPE. Other than that, the distribution across the sub-segments doesn't really change. Service and manufacturing has the biggest share, but there are also operators and there are contractors. So overall, it's not a bad distribution where our members come from. So all in all, this is not a very bad, it's not a bad picture. Always can get better though. This is the distribution geographically, regions and countries. And there are the two big regions, you know, Gulf Coast, North America, and the Middle East, North Africa here. These are back and forth sometimes. They're about the same size. Of course, the United States has the most members, but look at the next 2-3 countries, you know, Saudi Arabia, Nigeria, India, and these are areas that we need to pay more emphasis to in terms of having program fairs and maybe even events, and the whole SP is looking at that, you know. Again, discussing with Robin, there are different views about the oil industry. You know how we are facing some headwinds in Europe and North Africa, but that's not the case in other parts of the world. So we need to reflect these different views in our activities and our events and as technical sections and well as the whole SP. So that's pretty much what I had for the membership, student membership. I don't know if there are any questions or any comments from anybody before we move on. I can't really monitor the chat. Let me see if there is any comments on the chat. Yeah, the Matt made a comment. The consortium is on March 7th, that Friday, after the drilling conference. All right, so let's move on next slide then from there. One of the activities that we have over the years is the drill robotics program. And for this year, we ran into some bumps. Basically, the cycle runs from June to June, so to speak, of every year. That's when the one competition ends and the next year competition starts. So for this year, going from the 24-25 cycle, we were a little bit late because we didn't have enough funding to cover all the expenses. And expenses means mostly covering the travel costs of the winning team from the year before to come to the drilling conference or ATC and present their work. And the annual cost for this and provide, you know, participating in some events, etc., runs in the order of about 20K, so to speak. Can be a little bit more, a little bit less. So we didn't have the donations for this year, so we got a delayed start, and we were trying to see how we can keep going. So we looked at different options, but to approach operators, to go through SPE. The option that worked for now, short term, we got some support from SPE, with the help from Robin. So he managed to get 25K approved for the 25-26 cycle, which means we're merging basically this year with the next year. It's going to be a year and a half cycle. This is going to cover, again, the expenses of the program going forward. And DSATS, we got a poll internal between the board and the officers to cover the expenses for this year, basically to cover the travel costs of last year's winner to Stavanger in March to present their work and continue uninterrupted, let's say, the process. So that was approved. DSATS is going to cover these costs, and from next year on, we're continuing with this 25K that we got from SP. So the program stays on for now, and Enrique is going to head it. We're going to see in a second with the nominations. Fred keeps supporting, but he's from the sidelines. And Sasi, who took over from Fred, he's passing the baton to Enrique, and Sasi stays on as a board member. So this is an out-of-date information. We did get the votes that we needed, so the motion is approved. So the next steps is to make this a little bit more longer term, so to find a solution for the funding. We're creating marketing materials that both for the universities and for operators and potential sponsors, and try to get more permanent solutions in place. Like a 5-year funding, not to go away basically from this year to year, where we go, hand in hand, asking for donations year after year after year. So let's see how that plays out. It's a program worth keeping, I think. It keeps students involved, universities. Some good work comes out of this, and students, many of the students that participated in the program have done well in the industry. So I think it's worth fighting to keep this going.
Hey, Demetrios,
yes.
Demetrios, Chris, just quickly. In my opinion, the marketing thing is a huge issue. If it's done really well, it will help get good sponsorship from senior managers who will kick in bigger bucks than the normal engineering guys can. And I think to get it done, it's going to take DSATS people or Drillbotics people getting involved with SPE marketing so they can bring the information, the material to them, and to push them along to get some products created and then out into the world.
Absolutely, yeah.
If we sit back and say, hey, SPE is doing the marketing, my read on my experience is it won't happen because they don't know what Drillbotics is. They need that input. They need the insights brought to them, and they probably also need Drillbotics to get their attention to produce products because they have other work to do as well. So it's important to get heavily involved with them.
Yeah. I agree, John. I think Enrique, we have Enrique now who has done a good job, but we need to support him, all of us, and not leave SP alone. I think you are absolutely right.
As Dimitrios, has that started, or who in SPE marketing do we have a contact, or we need
I don't have the contact. No, I don't have, but we need to continue to follow up on this. We cannot let it, we got the money and now all is good and stay quiet. That would be a mistake. But
Sashi, that's a great question, and I think Greg can help and Robin can help. And then if the Drillbotics guys get to the right people and form a liaison with the right people in SPE, that can be a fantastic kickoff point.
Yeah. Okay, so let's move on then. How we're doing with time? It's 8 o'clock already. The nomination committee, the nominating committee came up with, I'll have the names in the next slide, but there is a couple of changes I wanted to describe here. So we're combining the role of the program chair, that was Calvin, and a program chair for North America, which is Maury. The team felt that there is no clear reason to have two people, for these roles. One probably can do both, and that is reflected in the nomination going forward. And also, what we had before is administrative chair and online community webmaster. We had two different people assigned, let's say, to that, but Edgar, the outgoing community master, was handling the web page and everything else. Now we're going to have a single person going forward, and you'll see in the second, and a couple of roles that are going away. Those were deputy chairs, kind of transitioning, training, if you want, from the chair. And now we're going to have single roles for each one of them. So here,
yeah, Dimitrios, can you go back a second, that slide?
Yeah.
I think it's important to note we're not changing the constitution or the bylaws.
No,
All
correct.
we're doing is saying that a regional program chair will also be the lead program chair, and this time it's Mori North America. In the future, it may be another from Asia. It doesn't.
It's going to be rotating. Yes, yeah, correct.
Well, it's whoever's a good candidate, and then also we're not combining administrative and online community. We've just got Riem taking both positions, so she's taking on both positions. But in the future, it may go back to 2 people. So that's the gist.
Thank you, John. Yes, good clarifications.
So, John, can I ask a question just to clarify that again?
Yes.
That last slide, you said that you're not removing those positions. It's just that you're having one person fill both of them.
Correct.
Thank you.
And that's so they still exist. The remove roles, the deputy and the subcommittee co-chair, were not actually roles defined in the constitutional bylaws. So they weren't legal roles anyway.
Okay.
We're transitioning, kind of shadowing to younger people, following, let's say, the footprints of the previous chair. But now, as they take over, at least for the short term, we don't need to have deputies, you know. Okay, so here are the names. My term is coming to an end, moving out of the position, and Blakely Farrow from Neighbours is nominated to take over. Calvin is taking over one of the board, well, is nominated to fill the position that Austin Gruber had in the board. Calvin is the outgoing, you see here, the outgoing program chair, and Maury is coming in and taking on that role. Mark, who is here on the call, is stepping down as a board member, and I'm nominated to take that role myself. Nasi Cool agreed to step on the side because he couldn't dedicate the time for this role, for the membership chair. So Cody McDonald is nominated to come in. Sam was the administrative chair, and his term is coming to an end, and he's nominated to take over as treasurer from Robert Darby, whose term is coming to an end. Edgar Castillo was the community webmaster, and that term came to an end. And Riom, like John said, is nominated to fill both these roles here. Sas's term in the SN Robotics subcommittee chair is ending, and Enrique is coming in. Enrique has been participating as a co-chair for a while, and now we're formalizing that. And for the university chair for the university relations, Roman Shore's term is coming to an end, and Dan Sui from Norway is nominated to fill in. So this is really what is posted there on the web. I think it's on the website. It was communicated to the members by an email, and this is what will be voted in at the symposium, using the majority vote from those present. And like I said at the beginning, we're open at this point for nominations. If anybody, I have received a couple of inquiries, people that are interested to participate, both as elected officials or as appointed members in subcommittees, etc. We'll see how many really come forward. But for now, we don't have anything seconded or on the ballot, let's say. This is it for the symposium. That's for reference. Yes.
Yeah, Demetrius, I'd just like to say something about Blakely Farrow because people may not have heard of her. She's a mines graduate from quite a few years ago. She works for Neighbors. She works in automation. She's pretty much a go-getter. And Suboda, who is her boss, is a senior vice president of Neighbors, and he has endorsed her taking on this role. So she's got senior vice president support to do this. And also what it gives us for the first time is actually a drilling contractor leading DSATS, which I think is an interesting shift.
It's excellent, I think. Both having a lady and having a contractor from both.
Yeah, and I think the big thing is Suboda is active. He spoke at our DSATS event in ATCE in New Orleans. He's really a go-getter, and he has endorsed her doing this. So he's giving her the go-ahead and the support and presumably the time to do it.
Yeah, no, that's excellent. That's very good. I was going to say that those roles for the officers are are up to 3 years. They are renewed every year. If people want to step down, they can, of course, step down. They can stay on. Typically, most of us, we stay on for the full 3 years. And our constitution says that once you finish a term, you can continue to another term for another 3 years. And at that point, you have to take a break and step aside and allow other people to participate. For the board members, the term is 5 years. It's one term. There is no re-election there. And of course, as you know, we have 3 emeritus board members, non-voting. That's John DeWard, John McPherson, and Fred Florence have these roles. Those are honorary roles. We have 6 board members plus the chair, 7 as a tiebreaker. And we have something like between elected officers and subcommittee chairs, we have, if I'm not mistaken, something like 17 people as what we call officers. And all those are, I mean, there's 7 board members and the officers, they add up to something like 24, 20, depending how many subcommittees we have, of course. And these are the voting members, and we need 75% of those essentially to have a approved a motion, a proposal, etc. So those are roughly the processes that the governance for DSATS. Any question on this before we move to the next topic from anybody? Okay. No. Well, let's see. I think now we're talking about the upcoming events. There is the symposium, which is that Monday before the drilling conference. Serafima and Eric are putting this together. This is our annual meeting. Yeah, Serafima, you have something? No? Okay. So this is a 4-hour event, roughly. The first couple of hours is the annual meeting for DSATS, where we go through the summary of the year, the election process, an hour and a half, 2 hours. And then the second half of the meeting, from 3 to 5, roughly, is an event where we have a panel, we have a topic, and we bring in some people from the industry or sometimes outside the industry to present their views, give us a different perspective, learn something, debate something. So I think this is going to be excellent, looking at the team that Serafima and Eric are inviting. Autonomy, I think, is going to be a center topic for this discussion, and get to learn something from a little bit different perspective than what we are all doing. I really look forward to that. And after that, we have a networking session. Session, I'm sorry. A networking session at 5 o'clock for a couple of hours. Have an opportunity to meet, to talk to each other, exchange ideas. I think this is really the highlight of the DSATS activities for each year. The fee is again the same as last year, symbolic, rather, mostly. For the students, it's even lower. We do have some sponsorships, we expect to raise some funds from this event. So it's the flagship event for the year for networking and meeting, but also raising some money to cover the expenses that we have throughout the year. For example, like the drill botics expenses we took on. The budget, there is a rough budget, a number of people. Typically, we are getting around 100 people in these events. And it's going to be no different this time. Assuming that we're going to get in some sponsors, we're going to be in the black, even though right now here it doesn't show. Last year, 2 years ago, when it was back in Norway, with help from David, Corey, and John de Ward, we raised something like 12K net, if I remember correctly. So I don't know if we're going to get that high again this year, but it's going to be there's going to be some profit left, some proceeds.
Hey, Demetrios, this
Yes.
is out of date. It's best if Serafima speaks to it, because we have sponsors. We're in the black. We're in good shape.
Yeah.
Maybe Serafima can give the update, because it's not negative.
It's not negative. No, I know. I mean, I never thought it's going to be negative. We don't have any event that we are red, which is a good thing.
Yeah, I can just say a few words.
Yes,
Yeah.
please.
No, so we have 3 platinum sponsors and 1 gold one. So I think which adds up, this number that you see here, you add, and unfortunately I don't have it in front of me, but around 9,000 plus. We are going to provide the live streaming, so that of course takes, I think is included already here in the budget. But so I think we'll be in plus, but not at 12,000. I can provide maybe the correct numbers. I don't know, for the next meeting.
We have 1 month to go, Serafima, so we may get more. Very good.
Yes, let's see.
Sometimes, I mean, it's good that we have this level of sponsorship at this point, because typically it's the last 2 weeks that things happen, So I think we can get even better than what you described. But adding 9K to this number here at the bottom, that's already in the black, and it may get even better. So that's fine.
Demetrios, just to add in there that Karma and I have been the ones on Serafima's committee who've been chasing sponsorship. We've chased a lot of people. We do not expect any more sponsorship at this time, unless, of course, Weatherford wants to step up and take a platinum role. That would be great.
That would be great. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, we forgot to send you the email requesting that.
I don't think we need an email, John. I mean, it's up to us, each one of us, to go up to our management and get any level of support, even a silver or a gold. That's fine. It ends up helping the students essentially. That's the point.
Yeah, I mean, we're open to taking more sponsorship, because this does go into the DSATS General Fund, which, as you say, now is supporting Drillbotics. So it's all for a great cause. So we are open to getting more. If anybody on this call wants to get their logos out there associated with this high-profile event, come on board. Just get a hold of me or Karma, and we'll take your money.
All right. So let's move on then. So the next topic is, and I have already taken most of the time. I'm so at the beginning it messed me up. Let me open the slides that Eric has prepared, and we can walk through that.
Yes. I will shorten anyway the presentation.
Eric, on to you. Just let me know when to move slides.
Yes, thank you, Dimitrios. So the first slide, actually, I picked it up from Zoom, Nguyen from ConocoPhillips, because I think she phrased actually very well actually the problem that about rig automation. It has been available for about 10 years and still not installed everywhere. And I think that she wanted to point that actually the problem was not the availability and the proof that automation works. It's actually the problem is that every rig is special, and you need to do a lot of work to install automation on the rig. And we have a need actually to have a plug and play mechanism such that actually the cost for installing automation is much reduced. So next slide. So that points to the point that we try to address in Davis, which is interoperability. We try to put together a definition for interoperability in the context of drilling, which is that the interoperability between systems in well construction is achieved when any system can exchange meaningful information with any other system at present or in the future. The exchange of information occurs between authorized system with a prior knowledge for each system's unique characteristic and in an environment where the constellation of systems is changing constantly. And there are a few things which are important there, and especially the fact that there is no prior knowledge about the different systems, that the systems is changing through time, and that it also can adapt actually with both what is available at the present and in the future. And that has really been the motivation for how we designed the architecture for the Davis interoperability mechanisms. So go to the next slide. Yes, so just quickly about the Davis organization. So we have a steering committee, and then we have a certain number of work streams, each working on separate topics and led by different people. And so just jump to the next slide. Since time is limited. And here we have the overview of the architecture for Davis. And as I said, it's really focused on the fact that it should be facilitating interchange of information between different systems. Sorry. Go back. And that actually this interchange should be completely transparent to anyone. So that's based on a blackboard in the middle, which is a place where all information is exchanged. So there is only one entry point for every component that needs to collaborate on the Davis architecture. And everything is exchanged using semantic. That means that the information can be understood by, understood by the different components of the system by computer systems. So on the top side, so we have the different external advisors, data acquisition systems, contextual data sources. On the bottom side, we have the different sorts of ADCS which are available. And then the green part represents the Davis architecture. So in the architecture, we have side components like Dream Process State Interpreter, which provide a source of information which is common for every participant on what is a Dream Process State at the moment. We have a scheduler, which is prioritizing what kind of tasks should be done at any time, and it is event-based. And we have an advice composer, which manage actually to take advices from different providers and uniform that before it's sent to the ADCS. Got a contextual data builder, which is making sure that we get consolidated contextual data, and a logger to make sure that we can have a tracking of what has happened during all those interactions. And then we have standardized ADCS interfaces, which are the Davis standardized ADCS interfaces, which means that the gray boxes actually can rely on those interfaces instead of having to consider all the different versions which exist for at the level of the various ADCSs. But as not all ADCSs can implement all the ADCS interfaces, there is also an exposure of the ADCS capabilities, which are truly available through this capability description that is also shown there. So that's basically the architecture. The point is that if you develop once an interoperability which is compatible with Davis, in theory, so you should be able to deploy that everywhere without having to do any changes when you have a different type of rigs. So go to the next slide. So one key element that we have been working is related to the fact that things are event-based, meaning that actually we need to react to different situations. Things are not really completely sequential. At the start, it looks like sequential, like this drill standard procedure, but because of the situation that we have on the context, so we may have to inject new operations, or you may have to remove some operation, or we have to swap other operations. And also if we have specific incidents happening, so we may have to deviate completely from this sequential part and perform additional actions like detection, isolation, and recovery for returning back to normal situations. So this is really event-based type of management, and that also influences quite a lot the way the architecture is built. So go to the next slide. So the standard ACS functions that we are working with are an autodriller, which is a superset of all the autodrillers that we know about. And then we have standard procedures like tag bottom, friction test, reciprocation, pump startup, top drive startup, pump startup, pump stop, top drive stop, downlink. Then limiters functions, also called safe operating envelopes, like min-max flow rate, min-max rotational speed, min-max actual velocity, and FDIR functions like overpull, underpull, backoff, and overtorque. So quite a few functions which are described completely semantically. So go to the next slide. So as a background, so we're preparing a demonstration for this year. The background is that we had the demonstration in 2023, and we showed that actually several companies could work together, and but we didn't use a true ADCS, and therefore for the objective of this demonstration that we are preparing, we would like to connect to several commercial ADCSs. And we are also extending the number of participants to the demonstration, and that is under planning. I shall say that actually this is a moving target because we have a lot of problems to get the true ADCS that we will be working with being ready for our demonstration. So unfortunately, so the demonstration has to be postponed months after months before we get actually one first, which is ready to do the demonstration. And at the moment, I hope it can be done with the first one in February, but I'm still waiting for the feedback from Aker BP, which is a place where we will do this demonstration, that it will be ready. And on Tuesday, that was still not ready at the moment. So there's still some uncertainties about the date for the demonstration. Go to the next slide, I think, because this one is good. So the different setup that we will have. So we are planning for different demonstration, at least 3. One which is made, sorry, go back, at North, using the OpenLab Drilling Simulator, using Novos from NOV. A second one which will be made at HMH Hardware in the Loop simulator, using OpenLab Drilling Simulator as a simulator for the downhole simulator, and that will be using DEAL from HMH as a commercial ADCS. And the third one, which will be based at Aker BP, using downhole simulator, which is based on A-drilling, and that will be using Between as a commercial ADCS. And then the external advisors will be provided by Aker BP, Halliburton, Baker Hughes, Secal, and Petrobras. So quite a lot of variety of different functions, they are listed there. And if you go to the next slide, that visualize the whole setup, which looks like quite complicated, but that shows that if you look at all the different colors, they represent different companies, and you can see that we have a really big mix of different companies and software which will be working together to achieve these results. So then you can go to the next slide. I think you need to jump quite a few slides because I see that it's already 1526 here. So we will make available a web API, a web application, so that everybody who will attend the demonstration can look at the data from their desktop using a web browser. That's keep in mind that you will have the possibility to really inspect all the details of what will be happening. The next slide. I think then you jump ahead because no time to that. Go ahead. Continue. Next slide. Next slide. Next slide. Yes, and then the last thing which is important before we give the word back to Dimitrios is that we will have a Davis workshop on March 7, on the Friday after the Dream Conference. That will be hosted at Aker BP. You can register with this link that I put on the top. And here you have the agenda. So I really encourage anyone who is interested actually to register and to come to this workshop where we will go through many of the details of the work that we've been doing in Davis for many years. And at the same time, so we, or during the afternoon, so we will work onto how to proceed from this point of view for the way further with Davis. And just to say also that we are in the process of trying to put together an actual demonstration of Davis on an actual rig in Norway in 2026. But we still have some work to do before we can have that demonstrated on the true rig, on the actual rig in operation. So next slide as a conclusion. So yeah, interoperability is important, can facilitate the adoption of drilling automation. The idea is really to have competitive collaboration. People are collaborating on interoperability, but they compete on functionalities. So we do a lot of work with preparing the demonstration. Takes time because there are so many companies involved. And then the leitmotif for the work that we do in Davis is develop once and deploy anywhere, meaning that if you've done a good job at making yourself compatible with Davis, so you should be able to have much more opportunity for providing your service in many different places, if Davis is accepted. Yes, that's all I have. Sorry, I have to rush a lot. So
it's my fault, that one, but thank you very much. Any questions for Eric? I think it's going to be an excellent event on Friday, that Friday, the workshop.
Yeah, hey, Eric, I have one question that's maybe for you and Matt. Do you have any intentions or capability to live stream the event on March the 7th, or even just to record it and put it on DSATS website so people who aren't present can listen to it?
Yeah, so I need to check with Aker BP if we can use a Teams meeting. I would expect it's possible to do that, but I need to get the authorization from Aker BP to do that. But I'm not intending to have a filming crew in there.
No.
So but if we can
establish
with if we can have a team meeting running for the whole day at Aker BP, and I need to check with Aker BP if that's okay. That's something we discussed with Matt actually, that we should try to do.
Yeah, that'd be fantastic if you can do that.
Just one question: is this slide deck going to be uploaded somewhere where we can get at it?
It is already uploaded on Davis GitHub, but yeah. So if you have access to Davis GitHub,
okay,
it's
yeah,
available.
I do. Okay, great, thanks, Eric.
So, and if anyone is interested in looking at what we produce in Davis, so we have a GitHub site. So we have two things. We have a GitHub site where we have all the source code and many of the documents that we are producing. And then we have also a website, which is called day-vis.org, where we have a lot of information available there. So you can look at that. And then if you can scroll back two slides, there was a publication list, one more time there. So we also published quite a lot on Davis. So here you have the list of all the papers that has been already published and presented. And there are two new coming in the training conference in March in Stavanger. So, yes. Sorry.
Thank you, Eric. I think that pretty much wraps this part of the presentation, and there is only the last slide that I had to close out. Really, see if I can bring it up. So that's the closing slide for me. A few key points to take away. The membership trends continue in the right direction, and hopefully we can keep this in the coming years. The member engagement is still not where we would like it to be. Many people are watching from the sidelines, and ideally we would like more people to participate in the activities like, you know, the robotics, judges, the DWIs, etc. Other the verification and validation that Rodica is doing. There is some interesting work going on, and unfortunately, people don't have the time, I think, to participate. But we need to make the time. You know, the robotics got a lifeline, but we need to work on it, like we said at the beginning, with marketing and securing funding for years to come. So we need to work on that and engage more actively. I think it's going to be very beneficial for all of us if we manage to make the trip to Stavanger in March and participate in this workshop, and also see the demos and see what it. Yeah, there is a comment. Not sure if there is a question or that's some side discussion, but so the next scheduled community call is the week after the drilling conference on March 13. So that's the plan, is that second Thursday of the month, back to the normal time, 8:30 to 10. We're going to review what happened at the symposium and the workshop, and pass, let's say, the baton to the new team that is coming in at that time. So that closes this meeting. I want to thank all of you for coming in and apologize for my IT issues at the beginning. If anybody has any questions, any suggestions, etc., feel free to reach out by email. Thank you very much.
Thanks. Bye.
Thank you.
Dimitri.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.
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 See you in Stavanger.